Oh, yeah. There it is. Oh, a little sip of water. And we're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jaking Off. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. We're here. We're here now. We're doing it. I'm excited for this episode. I feel like we got a lot of good stuff. We got a lot of good stuff going on. I'm happy you're here as always. If there's anything you want to talk to me about, send it to jakin.off.podcast@gmail.com or send it to the Instagram at jakin.off.podcast. Give us a follow. Send us whatever you want. I am also this week. I have 3 comedy shows that'll happen right after this comes out. So on Wednesday, I'm going to be at the Westport Flea Market for the old Circus Bear comedy on Wednesday night. It's $5. On Friday, I am going to be at an event called El Camino on First Fridays. It's down in the Crossroads. It's actually in a private space. There's a limited number of seats. I'll post the stuff online, It'll be on the internet. If you follow me, you'll find it. So there's that. And then Saturday I'm going to be in Odessa, Missouri. I think it's sold out, though. That's pretty sweet. That'll be fun. It's been a good week or so of comedy, the old stand-up comedy. We've had our little fun. We've had a nice little weekend. By we, I just mean me, of course. But yeah, I did a show on Saturday at Apex Ale Works in Independence, Missouri, which, if you're not familiar with, is like one of the, it's a historic part of Kansas City. We'll say it like that. A lot of meth, a lot of Mormons, and not a lot of anything else. That's how I'll put Independence, Missouri. But I'm being a little facetious. There's places there that are nice. The place that I was performing at was pretty nice. It's called Apex Ale Works, and it was a nice time. I really enjoyed the people that worked there were really nice, and most of the customers. But there was this table of ladies that were on the at the show. They were there for the show. They were specifically there for the comedy show. And about 5 minutes into my set, I ended up telling this table of ladies that they had to shut the fuck up. I'm not proud. You never want to do that. And do I relish it when it happens? Yes, of course, 100%. There's only so many. Stand-up comedy is one of the only sort of places where sometimes your job entails you telling somebody to shut the fuck up, It's like you and like being a librarian. Those are really the 2 times. So yeah, I was stoked as hell, kind of, but also in the moment you're kind of frustrated because you're like, man, like, you're ruining everybody's fun time. This isn't how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to shut the fuck up and listen. And, God, I don't understand people who talk at comedy shows. The situation was this. I was hosting the show. And just, I was the only white guy on the show. That's not important for the story, but it is important that if you see the flyer, it looks like I'm haunting everyone else on the show. It's really funny. But I was hosting the show, and this table of 3 ladies, they're like middle-aged ladies. There was like one lady on the left. She was like a little bit heavier set, And then the lady in the middle was like clearly like, she was like the least weathered of the three. That's how I would describe it. She was the least weathered of the three. Like, of this group of three women, she was like technically, like, you know, by default the hot one. But you know what I'm saying? In a room full of 20 people, you're looking at 18, 19, and 20 probably. And I don't know why I'm insulting their appearance. I'm trying to paint a picture. I'm ugly too, you know? It's fine. But the third lady was she's just, you know, a lady who doesn't give a fuck. And, you know, older lady. And, you know, they're probably like late 40s, early 50s, something like that. But they're just chatting like during the show. And if I'm ever hosting a show, I always start off with like, you know, like some ground rules, that kind of shit. And so I started off, you know, keep your table talk to a minimum, blah, 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 blah. Everybody was like, woo, that sounds good to us. And so I was like, great. And then immediately these ladies are just chatting away between the three of them. And I said once, I was like, hey, like, I'm so sorry. You know, I'm not trying to be an asshole. Could you guys just, like, you know, stop talking? And the one lady, the hot by technicality one, she was like clearly like sort of offended, but she was like she's like, well, yeah, like whatever. And then like a minute goes by and they don't stop talking at all. And so I did the thing like that teachers used to do where you get all quiet and you wait for, you know, the silence to alert the people that are talking that they're being disruptive. And yeah, that happened, of course, because the room went completely silent and they were the only ones talking. They're so loud. And I was like, you guys got to be quiet. You know, I was like, you have to be quiet, to the lady, the technically hot one. But she wasn't talking in that moment. It was like her friend, but they were having a conversation. You know what I mean? Her friend's not just saying shit to her. And, you know, so she was like, I wasn't talking. And it's like, okay, well then just, yeah. But all of you have to shut up. You know what I mean? It's not like they're just being the worst. And so, but anyways, they like all keep talking, you know, after this the second interaction. And so the third time I was like, hey, listen, you guys need to shut the fuck up. You know, like, you guys need to shut the fuck up. You can't, you're acting inappropriately for this context. You know, it's just not okay. Like, you know, normal people don't do this. And so you're fucking up everybody's. And it immediately, they started like da 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 da. Like, one lady was like, she said something, and then I was like, she said something to me, and I said something along the lines of like, oh, you guys all, I was like, these ladies all seem like they are definitely gonna call the manager, if you know what I mean. And everybody else in the place was like laughing at these ladies with me. So they're all, the rest of the audience was on my side, which is important. But they're all, you know, cracking up, and they start to get like embarrassed, of course. And so then they just get like more combative with me. And at one point, this lady said something about my penis or something. I don't know. Like, she was trying to say something insulting about my penis or whatever. These are fucking like 50-year-old ladies. And I was like, oh, you've heard about it. I was like, yeah, word's getting around about that thing. And everybody else, of course, is like, oh, yeah, dude, that's sick, dude. You're so sick. And and then the one lady goes, well, it doesn't count if your mom's the one talking about it. as if she like got me, you know? And I was like, I just said, why wouldn't it count? She's the only one who's ever seen it. It's like, you're not gonna get me. I don't care. And that was like definitely like the dynamic, right? That's what gave me the power to destroy them, because they clearly were embarrassed. Like, they clearly gave a fuck, you know? And I was just like, whatever. At one point, I think it was like right after I had said that they looked like they were gonna like call the manager or whatever. One of them was like, I'm not gonna call the manager, I'm gonna call the CEO. And I was like, I don't fucking work here. It's like, I don't work here, lady. I was like, you're not. I was like, call him. I don't care. I was like, call him right now. I was like, you guys still need to shut the fuck up. You know? I was like, give him a shout. Get him on the horn. I was like, what are you going to call the CEO of Apex Ale Works? I don't work here. And I was like, and I got news for you. There ain't no CEO of comedy. All right? The sort of final straw that made them shut up was this lady, the heavier set lady, because I said something to the effect of, to everybody else in the room besides this table, I was like, you know, don't you guys like, I was like, hey, you guys like kind of want them to shut the fuck up, right? And they're all like having so much fun and laughing so hard that one of the guys just yelled back. He was like, no, this is awesome. So which I thought was funny. I was like, fair enough, dude. I get it. You know, I would probably feel the same way. But the lady goes, well, I'm just talking during the show because I'm a huge bitch. Like, trying to be sarcastic and call herself like a huge, like, she's like making it out like I'm the one making her seem like a bitch, kind of was like the vibe. But I would have never called her a bitch. You know what I mean? That's like an easy way to turn people off. I might have been thinking it. Okay? I might have been thinking it a little bit. But, you know, I would have never said that. Like, calling people names and stuff isn't really appropriate in any context. You know, you're allowed to think anything you want about people, but you know, sometimes you got to bite your tongue for the better, for the best outcome. So I would never call her a bitch, but since she said that herself, since she was like, I'm a huge bitch, that's why I'm talking. And I just was like, you took the words right out of my mouth, lady. And everybody in the place was like, whoa, whoa. You know, they're like, Jake for president. Then they shut up. The rest of my set, probably like 10 or 15 more minutes of my set, they just decided to all sit there. They're in the front row, and they just were all decided to sit there and stare at me and not laugh. And I was like, you think I give a fuck? You know? I was honestly like offended. Like, you really think I fucking care if you sit here and stare at me? The rest of the people in here like me, dude. This is like best case scenario of something that I can continually talk about for the rest of the time. So I did. I would just, the rest of my set, like after a joke would do well with the rest of the room, I'd be like, yeah, you know, like, seems like almost everybody here is having a great time. Seems like everybody here is having a good one, except for maybe like one table. I don't know. One table seems to be kind of having a rough go of it for some reason. I wonder what's up, you know. And then we had like a tip. There was like a tip bucket out, you know, one of those local comedy shows, and excuse me. And there's a tip bucket out, and the way that I started, I took it up there with me when I was doing my set as the host at the very beginning of the show. And I was like, hey guys, you know, this is at the end of my set after all this has happened. I was like, you know, hey guys, we're gonna, you know, have this tip bucket going around, like if you want to support the comedians, like da 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 da, you know. And I was like, well, probably, we'll probably skip this table. I was like, we'll probably skip these guys. I don't think that they're going to give too much money. And yeah, the rest of the show went great. They shut the fuck up. This is the thing. Here's the thing about these ladies. And really all hecklers at comedy shows. First of all, if you're somebody who heckles or talks during a comedy show, if you're somebody who yells something out, like, I don't understand it. I don't understand, like, screaming something out in the middle of a show, like, fucking la la la, like, whatever. That was all I could think of, is literally gibberish. That's how much I don't understand it. But at least those people have the fucking balls to, like, say something and everybody knows you say it. You said it. You know what I mean? But the thing with people who just go and sit and chat and then get upset when you ask them to be quiet, I don't understand it. I don't understand the mentality behind it. It just is so strange to me that you would go to a public place where a performance is going to be happening, a spoken word performance for the most part with stand-up. Sometimes it's not exactly that, but you get it. You get what I'm saying. A spoken word performance, and you're there for that thing. It's not like they didn't know it happened or anything like that. They were there for it. And just chat. Just chat at a table with your friends. You could talk to them anywhere, dude. You could talk to them anywhere. And, it's just, it bewilders me. I don't understand people who do shit like that. It's super fucking annoying. It's super entitled, and it bothers me. I don't like using my powers for evil, dude. I don't want to embarrass those ladies. That wasn't the... if you would have asked me at the beginning of the night what my ideal night would be, it would be everybody shuts up and listens and laughs and has a good time. Not I have to totally destroy these middle-aged women and embarrass them in front of a room full of people because they won't shut the fuck up. It's not what I want to do. Now, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And that's what I did. Boy, those ladies are some lemonade. But you know what I mean? It's not what I want. That's not what I want to do. So yeah, it's just frustrating. I don't understand it. And I just totally annihilated these ladies, and the rest of the show went good. And the thing is that they stayed for the rest of the show and sat in the front and shut the fuck up and watched the show and laughed and had a good time. You know what I mean? Once they took my advice and shut the fuck up and just listened and had fun, they had a good time. They could have done that from the beginning. It could have been like that from the jump, And that's the same with anybody, and not just those three ladies. You know what I mean? It's a lot of different people. I don't know if there's in my experience, there's not really a particular demographic of people that is more prone to heckling. I feel like I've just seen every single type of person do it, that I'm just like, all right, this is just like, certain people are stupid. They got the heckler gene. The weirdest part, though, the weirdest thing that happened was, so after the show, after I just totally just annihilated those ladies, just totally embarrassed them, I'm still doing it. Take that. Yeah, you're on my little fucking podcast. But after the show, another lady who was in the crowd, she's also older, came up to me after, and she was like, "You sure handled those bitches." She goes, "You sure handled those bitches." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I didn't really want to, but they forced my hand. They made me do it." And she was like, "Yep." She's like, "That's just what you get with empowered women." I was like, I don't even know exactly what I said. I just was like so sort of like mortified and taken aback that I was like, "Yeah, well, you said it." It's like, "You said it, lady." Uh, and I was like, I'm gonna go home. I left very abruptly after that. I was like, this is, it sucks. I hope that that's not actually what that lady took away. I hope she didn't take away, yeah, like women should shut the fuck up. That's not what I was going for. Yeah, man. So that was what happened at Apex Ale Works. It's actually pretty late on Monday evening that I'm recording this right now. And I kind of put it off because I've just been busy the last week and I hadn't really seen anything online that I was like super like made me cringe really badly or like I was like excited to make fun of or something. And so just a little bit ago, like an hour ago, I was laying down, just flipping through my phone, trying to find some inspiration, dude. And boy, did I find it. I found maybe one of the worst TikTok accounts I've ever seen in my life. This is terrible, dude. Okay, so I found it on Twitter because I like don't just go scroll on TikTok. I only go on there when I see somebody share a profile that like seems particularly cringe, like the Hitler reincarnated dude, if you remember that from a couple episodes ago. But somebody shared this on Twitter, and these guys are called Two Guys Take on Real Estate. And they seem like, they're like maybe in their 30s or 40s. And they're like two dudes who are landlords and own a bunch of rental properties. And so here's the thing. This is what I'll say, because I know that a lot of people will say shit like fucking landlords are criminals and like stuff like that, and it's like, well, slow down, They're yeah, I don't agree with the way that property in this country works. If I had it my way, a lot of shit would be different. But they're not criminals. They're subject to sort of the same system that we are most of the time. Some of them are literally criminals. Not all of them, but some of them are definitely literally criminals, and a very good portion of them are leeches on the rest of society, is I guess how I would put it. Not all of them, not everybody. I'm not talking about you, person who would listen to this podcast probably, but I could be, in theory. Maybe do a little self-evaluating if you feel offended by that. And the reason I say that they're leeches and stuff, and specifically guys like this, right, is because a lot of these, whether it be individuals like this or, companies that own and rent a lot of land and property are not doing so to provide people with a place to live. They're doing so to make profit, and specifically profit off of wage workers, right? Not, capitalists, not people who own capital, and they are the people who own capital in a lot of cases. And it is coercive. It is like inherently coercive. It's just, there's no really other way to put it. And that doesn't mean that every landlord is bad. I like my landlord that I have now. He's a good guy. He fixes stuff when it needs to be fixed. He tries to communicate with his tenants and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that all landlords are inherently bad. I'm just saying that the system within which they participate in, I have some disagreements with and would change drastically and probably do things that a lot of them would hate. But I think as far as broader society goes, they are sort of, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of them are bad. I don't have to explain this to you. Who needs nuance? I'm just gonna play this first video. This is the thing that I saw, and so these two guys are they own a bunch of properties and they make TikToks about being landlords, and it's really fucking cringe. So here's the first clip.
All right, thanks for paying your rent this month. Go ahead and sign here. It's just gonna ask you a couple of questions.
A tip? I'm not tipping my landlord.
So you'll tip a barista who pours overpriced coffee into a cup, but not the guy who's on call 24/7 to make sure you have a safe home?
I'm not tipping you. This isn't a restaurant.
Okay, so you'll tip an extra 25% for somebody to carry you a basket of chicken wings, but you won't tip someone who responds for after-hours emergency calls? Yep. Well, I guess when it's time for your lease renewal, I'm gonna make sure gratuity is included in your rent. It's a little tip I learned from Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
So yeah, that's disgusting, dude. I mean, the shit about, you know, why would you tip a barista and not your landlord? It's like, well, first of all, dude, I'm not paying my barista's subsistence with my tip, okay? I'm paying for more than your subsistence, frankly. Like, you know, I'm paying for this building, for you to own it with my rent. You know, I don't get shit, dude. That's why I'm not tipping you. You don't do anything. Okay? You don't do anything unless I need it. And sometimes I can fix stuff myself. You're so it's the worst, and it's very disrespectful of people who would be renting his property. It just shows you like the way that this guy thinks of it, you know? It's gross. Why would you tip a barista? Why would you tip a food service worker? Cuz they don't make enough. Dude, it's like literally it's like the norm when you go places. I don't know, man. It just really pissed me off. And so I went to their TikTok page and I was like, I got to like find more of these. You know, I got to see what else exists on here, and it's pretty bad. It gets pretty bad. Here's another one. This is how to avoid paying taxes on your properties when you want to give them away to your son.
Son, I'm retiring, and I'm gonna leave you my real estate empire. Empire? You mean the duplex you own? I can't take that. Don't insult me. You don't want it? No, Dad, it's not like that. It's just I don't want it the way you own it right now. Mortgage is paid off and it's appreciated so much in value. Why wouldn't you want it? Exactly, Dad. If you transfer it to my name, I'll have to pay all the capital gains on that appreciation. Okay, son. Then what can we do? Okay, transfer it into a trust, but add me as a beneficiary. Yet you keep holding on to the property, and of course I'll help you run it. But when you pass away, I won't have to pay that capital gains tax because it'll transfer to me. This is a great loophole called the step-up in basis. Fantastic. This way we keep the wealth in the family. I knew sending you to college was a complete waste. Well, actually, Dad, I learned this by following Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
Yeah. So, I mean, just sort of blatantly manipulative, and they're just laying bare all of the sort of bad stuff that they believe in these videos, where they're like, well, you don't want to, you know, you wouldn't want to pay taxes on, you know, something. You wouldn't want to give the rest of society anything. You're trying to own all of it. That's like all the vibes of these videos. It's so cringeworthy, dude. And they're like wearing backwards hats and, you know, dressing like all of the all of the videos that they have with the tenant, like the one where it's tipping, their bad tenant is always like one of them in a green hair, like long-haired wig. And I can only feel like the sort of situation that guy was remarking on with the baristas and the food service workers, that they probably don't respect working class people very much, is the vibe that I'm getting. And this next one is literally them admitting, it's this guy basically talking about how he's so excited for all the markets to crash because he's going to make a bunch of money. It's fucked up. It's like, because I feel like there are people who I even know that would be like, well, yeah, I mean, but he's just being like rational and like, you should like want to like take advantage of like the situation or whatever. And I don't fault people for thinking that way, because it is the way that our society like forces you to be. You have to be like a shark or something. And you see it all the time in like the way that we sort of like turn super ultra wealthy people into celebrities and stuff. And they're celebrities in a different way than like movie stars or comedians or musicians or something like that. They're celebrities in a different way fundamentally in this country, because movie stars or like musicians or comedians, like they, even though people agree that they're talented, nobody believes that the stuff that they do is necessarily hard work inherently compared to other shit in our society. Like, like if you're like a miner, you probably are like, like I would love to be like acting as being a big Hollywood movie star. Like, why would I feel bad for them? And you shouldn't at all. But when somebody is famous, they have success in sort of artistic performance, there is a lot of work that goes into it. It's not true that it's like easy, but I also understand that like being an actor is on the scale of like best jobs to have. It's one of the better ones you could get. They have a strong union, as it turns out. But I digress. What I'm saying is, what was I saying? Oh, I remember. So they, people in this country, like the way that we turn billionaires into celebrities and stuff, like mega rich people into celebrities, we sort of fundamentally believe that they are different from like celebrities that are like actors or like musicians and stuff, because of that perception that stuff doesn't take very much hard work. But there's no way that a person could become mega rich or like mega wealthy without any hard work. And that's just not true, and that's what these guys prove. And that's what they're talking about, is they're talking about in this video or in that previous video, leaving all of their fortune to their son or whatever, that kind of shit. And yeah, here he is talking about how when the market crashes, it's going to be good for him, but in TikTok form. That's kind of a new twist on an old classic.
Oh my God, the recession is here. What are we gonna do? Well, invest more, of course. What, are you insane? Everything is crashing. Exactly. It's bargain shopping time. This is when real wealth is made. How so? Buy good assets while they're cheap and then ride them as they go up in value. What if I don't have any extra cash? Starting a side hustle or partnering with someone. It's worth a shot. You sure have gotten smarter since you started following two guys take on real estate.
So when the market crashes, that's when we turn up, bro. Yeah, dude. Like when normal people fall into financial ruin, right? Come on. It's the economy, baby. It's fucking psychotic. I have a couple more of these, and I think I saved the worst one for last, the most hypocritical thing for last. But this next one is the one of the guys talking about uh what you don't want in a tenant. So he's like, this is his tenant red flag.
Another type of tenant you want to avoid, and a huge red flag for me, again, is somebody who has a lot of questions about stability. So if they're giving you questions right off the bat about, hey, what's your practice for late payments? Or when is the rent due? What happens if I don't get the rent in on time? Or is there a late fee? Things about that that challenge give you a huge concern about if they're going to pay the rent in full or on time. These things, if they're asked them right off the bat, are something you really want to take note of.
Yeah, so like, if the tenant is trying to make sure that they understand your policies, should they fall on some type of financial hardship, and they want to make sure, just even asking is a red flag. That's insane, dude. Do you know what I mean? That's so fucking insane, especially for these fucking guys, because they make all these videos that are like basically giving landlords advice on how to deal with tenants and how they can make sure they don't get fucked over by tenants and shit. And my cat is playing with my little feet. What are you doing? Dude, don't bite me. But they're giving like all this advice, and it's so fucking annoying that they are acting. They try to portray themselves as like being caring in some way, but they're not. They aren't. These guys specifically are not. They are absolute psychos. And so you remember earlier when they were making the video about how they they figured out how to get out of paying taxes. That was the gist of the video, that the guy was going to give his fucking real estate away to his son without paying taxes on it, or what the fuck ever. They make a lot of these videos about buying foreclosures. So when somebody can't afford their mortgage and their house gets foreclosed on, or they can't afford their taxes and their house gets foreclosed on, they go and buy them up for super cheap and flip them and make a bunch of money. But what is also in the other end of that is somebody lost their house. Somebody probably had something happen that caused them to not be able to afford their home anymore and is going through like a very tough time. And so I find the sort of blasé way that they approach all of this and talk about it to be really it just is completely devoid of any sympathy for like normal people, and it just kind of really bugged me. So here's the last video.
The property auction is about to start. Gather round, everyone.
What are you and all these people doing at my property?
Well, we're hosting a foreclosure auction for the city.
What? But I live here.
Right, but you haven't paid your real estate taxes in 15 years. Deadbeat.
So one of these bidders might own my house for what I owe in back taxes? What about my bank mortgage?
Well, everyone that wants to get cheap property follows Two Guys Take on Real Estate and knows the bank gets screwed.
Hey!
Basically, what they're saying there is, well, first of all, he called him a scumbag for not paying his taxes, even though they literally made a video about how to avoid paying taxes. Tax loopholes. It's not any different. Okay, you're using a loophole. Maybe it's legal. Just because it's legal doesn't make it more morally correct than just not paying your taxes. You know? At least to me. At least to me. That's just how I think, though. I feel like right is right, you know? Maybe you feel like up is down. That could be a thing, I guess. But it's fucking lame. It's lame as fuck, dude. And people love this shit. People love it, dude. People love, like, flexing and just sort of this, like, hyper, you know, competitive sort of influencer. It's like the intersection of influencer and like get rich quick scheme shit, and like, you know, sort of grifters is insane. And God, dude, like hustle culture and real estate and all that shit, it fucking sucks. It's the most blood-sucking fucking, like, empty shit ever, you know? This type of stuff. Not everybody who does that stuff, of course. I would never speak in absolutes. But this sort of shit, or like I saw a video one time of like these dudes being like, I'm this old and I've made this much in real estate, you know, and it'd be like $10 million. And then like $250 million. And, you know, I don't want you all to think that I'm just doing this because I'm hating on them because they're rich or something. It's not that, okay? It's not jealousy. Do I wish that I had money? Yeah, of course. Of course I do. That's, you know, everybody wishes that. Because if you have a bunch of money, you don't have any problems. Okay? And I know that people will disagree with that. They'll be like, well, like, just because you don't have, or just because you have money doesn't mean that you have no problems. I guess what I'm saying is you don't have any problems that normal people have. Okay? The everyday problems, right? You're not worried about what you're going to eat tomorrow. You're not worried about where you're going to sleep or something like that, you know? You're not worried about those sorts of things. So even though, yeah, I'm sure that you have, you know, problems with your life in some way, that's everybody, you know? But you don't have that also compounded by economic issues that are, you know, essentially created by the society that we live in. So, I don't know, man. I hope you guys found that as cringeworthy as I did. It was really rough for me. Ugh, yucky. Why do they make this stuff? Who's doing this? Who likes this? Are you somebody who likes this? Fucking send me an email, dude. jakin.off.podcast@gmail.com. You know, I just feel like if you are somebody out there who find yourself in a situation where you're a landlord and you're, you know, providing housing for people, I hope that you really reflect and make sure that you're not just completely fucking people over, because a lot of landlords are. So just be careful. Be careful what you do to other people, and stop making fucking content about it, you psychos. That's insane. This stuff sucks. You guys are so cringe. It blows. Get a real hobby. Make real art. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Says the guy who totally destroyed 3 middle-aged women at a comedy show. Well, guys, that's going to be it. That's the end of the pod. I appreciate you checking it out. And I love you. I love you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye.